Banks have been freezing and closing accounts recently. What's behind all this?
A growing number of bank customers are having their accounts shut down without much warning or explanation, leaving them without access to their money.
That morning, when Elad tried to log on to his online bank account, he got this alert.
Bank of America told me it was shut down. They refused to give me an explanation. They told me I would get my money after it was resolved,
which he says he was told would take 10 to 20 days.
All of a sudden, I find out I'm broke, I can't feed my family, and I can't pay any expenses.
I went to log on to my online banking, and it kept saying account locked.
Last year, CBS News Chicago profiled a woman who had a similar experience, also with Bank of America. Once we arrived to interview Elad outside the bank, he says the mood quickly changed and the bank allowed him to transfer all of his money into another account.
I get an email and it says, your account has been locked due to security purposes, reasons, whatever. Please call this 877 number. Try to go there, chase.com, sign in, same message. So I initially called this 877 number. Your checking account and savings account with Chase has been closed as of yesterday. I was like, what? Okay, so, all right, why was it closed? Chase is authorized not to disclose the reason for your closure, but just to notify you that it's been closed. I've been with you for 20 plus years. Show us proof that these direct deposits made into your account are yours. The unemployment you're receiving, we need to verify that amount, a summary of your weekly benefits to be able to release your funds.
Banking expert J.D. Kuntz says the reason banks shut down accounts is because they've been flagged for suspicious behavior.
And unfortunately, some good people are being caught in the net with the bad when they try to weed out who may be causing problems.
Banks are required to file suspicious activity reports, or SARs, to regulators.
By freezing or closing someone's account, they don't necessarily get penalized for that. And so they probably tend to err more on the side of caution, which unfortunately does create hardships for individuals.
But a 2018 report by the Bank Policy Institute found that less than 5% of suspicious activity reports actually warranted follow-up by law enforcement.
How big is the problem with complaints with checking accounts? I think you'll be surprised. I was very much surprised. So this is the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, helpmybank.gov website. This shows all the complaints received by consumers. In the blue, in 2019, you've got 21,000. It keeps going up. By 2022, it's 32,000 cases. And you also have inquiries have gone up. Now, complaints by major product. This is what's really interesting. You would think that credit cards would be number one. Actually, checking accounts has more complaints than credit cards, which is surprising. And you see that the amount of complaints with credit cards didn't go up nearly as much as checking accounts. We look at 2019, it went up from 5,700 complaints to over 10,900. It basically doubled in just several years. It's higher than mortgage, even higher than consumer loans. Look at the number of complaints for that one from checking and savings accounts. Look how drastically this has gone up from 5.6 million. This is the amount that the OCI found companies at fault and they had to pay back. So it was only 5.6 million in 2019. Look at it now, 29 million. So this problem with complaints is going up. The trend of frozen bank accounts and bank closures has been increasing since around 2010. If you look here at this chart, bank account closed is in green here. You can see that it's been steadily increasing. It really spiked around COVID when banks tried to fight back against unemployment fraud and stimulus fraud. Even after COVID, bank account closures has been increasing. Now, if we look at United Kingdom, theirs is a little bit different, but it's been steadily increasing since around 2010 also. Now, they didn't have the spike from the stimulus. However, recently, this trend has really went up. The search for bank accounts closed has really increased recently. One of the politicians had his bank accounts closed, and he's not able to open up any bank accounts. Now, in the United States, since around 2010, currently, it's been increasing. And you see the big spikes during COVID as the banks tried to fight back against unemployment and stimulus fraud. In the United Kingdom, the closures have been a little bit different. They've been geopolitical and political in nature, which is quite scary.
2 months ago, I received a phone call from my bank. I'd been with the same banking group since 1980. 2 months ago, I get a phone call out of the blue from a personal manager who simply says on a phone call, "We are closing your accounts." I was told it would all be explained in a letter that would arrive in a couple of days' time. The letter just told me the accounts are closing and please, by the date they gave me, make sure you've moved to another bank. So I've tried for 2 months to get another bank account, and I've spoken to 7 different banks, and they've all said no. And the reason is, it would seem to be political.
You were married to a Russian billionaire who was once dubbed Putin's banker, and
we weren't married, so I really have no connection in that way.
You believe that your bank accounts have been closed?
Yeah, so I am with NatWest, or I was with NatWest, and they wrote to me and said, "You have 2 months to remove all your bank accounts. We're shutting them down." I tried to contact my personal manager. I've written to the CEO. I have written and written and written, and all I've managed to extract from them is this incredibly arrogant answer. "We have decided we have absolutely no reason to discuss with you why we're expelling you. We just don't get out." And they've kept some of my money. And if I'm lucky, within 60 days, I'll get a check in the Royal Mail.
Unscrupulous and unethical companies such as Chime use the umbrella of security as a way of scamming customers out of their money. What makes companies such as Chime so insidious is it's unique because it's well-funded, they have a well-organized scam part of the business, and that's very unusual. It's a wolf in sheep's clothing, so it looks nice and pretty on the outside, but on the inside you've got a wolf. This is pretty embarrassing when you go to Wikipedia. Barely past the first paragraph, it says here, Chime can and does cancel user accounts with no notice. It is not required to provide a reason for cancellation to the customer or even have a reason. Customers cannot appeal to banking regulators to retrieve a deposits which may not be returned in a timely fashion. What also is interesting about Chime, they don't have a very generic sounding name. Most con men and scam companies have names like this. World Financial Group. Very generic sounding. They spend the least amount of time and effort coming up with the name and putting the work into the business, whereas Chime has actually put quite a bit of work into the scam. What's even scarier than the fact that Chime can scam customers out of money is that the scam can actually be legal. Can a bank close an account without giving the person their money back? Banks are allowed to close accounts. Federal banking laws and regulations do not address the closing of deposit accounts. The Office of the Comptroller of the Currency notes on its website. Banks are generally allowed to close accounts without advance notification. However, each state can have its own banking regulations, some which do apply to the closure of financial accounts. Okay, let's take a look at the Chime deposit agreement to see what they allow, what they don't allow. This part here is just the deposits into the account. So deposits using an external debit card, maximum of $200. ACH transfers, there's no limit on the number of times per day, but it's $10,000 per day. So if you were to try to do more than that, they would have a problem and they could probably suspend your account. It's $25,000 per month. Okay, it says no overdrafts. You can't do overdrafts unless you're enrolled in SpotMe. Otherwise, you must immediately cover the negative balance. Legal processes affecting the account. If there's a state or federal investigation brought against your checking account, we may refuse or limit withdrawals. Okay, this is the part that I'm most interested in. This is the part that I believe Chime is abusing. It's under the deposit agreements. If you go to number 9, it's account hold suspensions, restrictions, and closures. Chime and or bank may suspend, freeze, restrict, or close your account for any reason, with or without notice. Such reasons include, but are not limited to. So that means this list, you can make an infinite list. It's not limited to this. You could just keep adding on whatever you want, and they're not going to tell us what the other things are. If at any time we believe the Chime checking account and debit card is used for fraudulent or illegal purposes, or otherwise presents undue risk on Chime and or bank as determined at our sole discretion. Okay, your use conflicts with federal, state, or local law, rule, or regulation, including federal foreign asset control and sanction regulations and anti-money laundering regulations. With our policies adopted to assure that we comply with those laws, rules, or regulations. Your non-fraudulent actions nonetheless violate any part of the deposit agreement. So if for example, you do $30,000 in ACH transfers a month, that's greater than the $25,000 limit. So then they could restrict the account. This is the part right here. The illegal, fraudulent, or illegal purposes, I think that's pretty straightforward, but this is the part I believe they're abusing. If any such member presents an undue risk to Chime and the bank as determined at its sole discretion. So they could make this up. You log in under the wrong, you forget your password, you buy a new phone and you log in, or you buy a new computer, they're going to say it's undue risk and block your account and then keep your money. If our monitoring detects any such activity, the account funds will be subject to a hold pending review of the activity of the bank and Chime. May require you and other parties to the activity to produce documents and or material evidence for the validity of the activity. Here we go. This is what they're really abusing. Funds on deposit in any account are subject to hold at the bank's discretion until the source of such funds and or the activity is properly verified. So if you can't verify it, which they've already showed, they won't verify proper documents, and they're going to say that it's not verified and they're going to be able to keep the money. That's what they want. The bank can also temporarily or permanently reduce your limits on deposits, withdrawals, transfers from your account without prior notice to you unless the notice is required by applicable law. Now, Chime's not the only one that has these strange cancellation policies. Now, Vero Money, I'm looking at theirs. They have a very similar one. We may cancel or suspend your bank account or this bank account agreement at any time for any reason. Any time for any reason at our sole discretion. If you withdraw consent, the bank account will be closed and the balance refund may be issued in accordance with the terms of the bank agreement. If Vero Money is canceled, closed, or terminated for any reason, we will return the unused balance to you via check. We will endeavor to mail you a refund check in 14 days. So at least they actually put a timeline on it, but it says endeavor, so it could be longer than that. We may take up to 45 days to investigate your dispute or question. For errors involving new bank accounts or foreign-initiated transactions, we may take up to 90 days to investigate your dispute or question. Okay, here's the Chase deposit agreement. Now, this may vary depending on your state. Either you or we may close the account other than a CD at any time, for any reason, or no reason without prior notice. So basically, just like Chime and Vero, they can terminate your account at any time. In some cases, we may limit the types of transactions that you may make until pending transactions are paid or returned. The balance is no longer negative or legal restriction has been released. We may send you a written notice that we have closed or will close your account and return the balance less any fees, claims, set-offs, and amounts or other amounts if the balance is greater than $1. Now, it offers no timeline when you're going to get the money, but it doesn't mention anything about verification, unlike Chime, which mentions verification a lot. Here's Chase's section on restricting the account, blocking or delaying transactions. You acknowledge and agree that we may decline or prevent any or all transactions to or from your account, including refusing, freezing, reversing, or delaying any specific withdrawal payment or transfer of funds from your account, or removing funds from your account to hold them pending investigation, including one or more of the following. So you have legal and administrative proceedings. We have conflicting information or instructions regarding ownership, control, funds, or activity. So activity could be almost anything, right? We suspect you may be a victim of fraud, scam, or financial exploitation, even though you have authorized the transactions. We suspect the transactions involve illegal activity or may be fraudulent. We are complying in our sole discretion any federal, state, local regulation, federal asset control and sanction rules, and anti-money laundering rules. Okay, here's another one. They have, just like Chime, and I think Vero had this also. We reasonably believe that doing so is necessary to help avoid a loss or reduce risk to us. We have no liability for any action we take in this section, and we may take such action without advance notice. Okay, now they do mention prohibited activities. We may refuse any gambling transaction, whether lawful or not, in the event of a problem with Chase, you're accepting arbitration. So you have to go through arbitration. Now, I did see there's an option to get out of arbitration in some circumstances. When I first signed up, actually I deposited the $20 before the 15th, but Chime takes like a week for the funds to clear. By June 15th, the money was there. And by July 17th, over 30 days, that's when the money moved out of the account. Now, they paid me no interest on the account. They gave me no credits, nothing, for the inconvenience of having my account locked down. And for me, having to spend probably several $100s worth of time.
You get nothing. You lose.
If I had to value my time, I would say I probably spent $300 of my time having to do these complaints with the various agencies. This was a problem that lasted over 30 days that I had to deal with that was an annoyance. I also had an issue with Wealthfront recently, but several weeks ago there was an issue with Wealthfront with their ACH system. This is on June 30th. I received this letter from Wealthfront. It said, "We're reaching out to you to let you know that our partner bank, Green Dot, experienced an issue earlier today that resulted in a rejection of your ACH deposit. The issue has since been resolved by Green Dot, but you'll have to reach out to your payroll service provider or other institution and resend your deposit." I was taking some money out from my Plank account and I was trying to transfer it to Wealthfront, and I had already initiated it. I got this email after and the deposit failed. I was inconvenienced. I had to go back and add a different bank account to Plank and resend the deposit to a different bank. So I was inconvenienced, but look what Wealthfront did. So what Wealthfront did was, so this was a very small inconvenience. But then I found out several days later, I got a $25 credit in my Wealthfront account, and it didn't say anything about what it was for. I figured it out finally. I thought it was a referral from something that I wasn't aware of, from a credit card or something. Anyways, I found out that Wealthfront had secretly given me a $25 credit because of this issue. That's the only thing that I could come up with. My opinion is, they weren't happy about this. They felt I was inconvenienced and they decided to help me out by giving me a $25 credit. That's the difference. I was inconvenienced for one small deposit or transfer. With Chime, I was inconvenienced a whole month. They did nothing. They didn't give me any credits, nothing. So that's really the difference between companies that you can trust and you can do business with and companies that you can't trust. Also, when Wealthfront gave me the $25 credit, they didn't immediately follow up with a survey like Chime did. To me, that it's very disingenuous to offer something. Chime unlocked my account, then right afterwards, they send me a "how did we do?" a survey. To me, this feels sort of like bribery. It feels a lot more genuine what Wealthfront did. They're not asking for anything in return. They offered the credit, the transaction's done, I'm happy. I don't need to do a survey. I have some good news to report. My $20 that Chime was holding against my wishes is finally back in safe hands in my Wealthfront cash account. So Monday morning, before I even had breakfast, I was on the State Attorney General website for California filing a complaint with Chime. And I also went to the Oklahoma State Attorney General's website and I filed a complaint for Stride Bank. That's the FDIC insured bank that Chime uses. Before I even had breakfast, I had most of these done. A couple of hours later, I got a Better Business Bureau message showing that Chime was escalating my case. I promptly responded back saying I reject the response, that I didn't have the money, so I wasn't going to fall for it. I said I didn't receive a check. I don't have the payment, so I rejected it. And then later that afternoon, I got an email saying that my account was reinstated. Okay, here's the email that I received. Your account has been re-enabled. We are pleased to inform you that your Chime checking account has been re-enabled. We apologize for any inconvenience this process may have caused. Inconvenience. This was over 30 days. You can use your account and existing Chime debit card effective immediately. Okay, now here they go and they start blaming other stuff. To provide the safest possible banking platform, remember, sometimes holds are placed on accounts in order to keep your money and information safe, and that we verify that your identity and your account are not being abused by criminals or anyone who might be trying to interfere with your financial security. Thank you for your patience. What's funny about this is they had my account on lockdown for over 30 days. Now, right after they re-enabled my account, they sent me a survey. How did we do? Think about the whole experience from the first moment you needed help into the last step in the process. I'm satisfied with my recent recent Chime support experience 1 through 5. Can you imagine that they had my account locked down for over 30 days? They re-enable it. Right away, they send me a survey. What an awful company. What sort of alternative reality does this Chime company live in? Will Chime set the standard for other banks to lock down accounts and steal from their customers? If we look at business history, greed always takes over. If we look at the hotel minibar, for example, companies found ways of trying to make money. Now, the markup on some of these, 300% for chips, they found ways of making money in different parts of the business. Areas that people never thought of making money, that's what companies started to switch to. Companies found new ways of making money off of the hotel business with the minibar. Another thing is carry-on baggage fees. It used to be carry-on bags were free, and then Spirit Airlines and some other ones, they started charging for. Now you can only take something like a personal item like this with Spirit Airlines and some of the other ones. A lot of the other airlines are jumping on board. So things that were ordinarily free, they're charging for. Now, not all of them have jumped on board, but a lot of them have. They're charging for carry-ons now. And reserve cancellation and change, I believe a lot of this stuff used to be free. Now it says American Airlines imposes a $200 change fee on paid fares for domestic flights. A lot of these airlines are charging for over-the-phone and in-person booking from $0 to $25 or $0 to $35. Now, we can't really compare in-flight Wi-Fi because years ago they didn't have that, but picking a seat now, they're charging. A lot of airlines charge for that. Non-alcoholic beverages, they used to give free complimentary juice and soft drink, and now they're charging extra. Pillow or blanket, a lot of airlines are charging for that. Without laws, companies will charge you for all kinds of things. Over time, things that were complimentary, companies find a way of charging for, and then it takes over the whole industry. Here you have early return fees, late return fees, refueling fees. These are for rental cars. Additional authorized driver fee, frequent driver program fee, lost key fee, cancellation fee. Another one, Las Vegas hotel resort fees. If you get a hotel that has a pool or some other type of amenities, a lot of them are charging like a $25 fee or more because they call it a resort fee. And for a long time, people weren't even aware of it. And I think a lot of the websites, they may not even show it. Secretly, this is like a form of fraud when you sign up. These taxes and fees range from $40 to $80. I was thinking $25, so I guess it's gone up. Now, another one, a lot of the casinos now are charging for parking. Parking used to be free. A lot of them are charging for pool access. Internet service. A lot of the stuff that was complimentary before is no longer complimentary. They're putting special fees as taxes and charges. This one, it says Caesars charges $63, taxes and charges. So I think it's clear, without specific laws that prevent banks from stealing from customers, other banks are going to jump on board. Other banks are going to be locking accounts, stealing from customers, until the government comes up with a set of regulations that prevents them from doing so.
It's my money and I need it now.
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 So here's a quick overview of my scammed by Chime story. I was busy cooking and I went to log into my Chime account. The passcode that's sent via SMS was delayed, or I got the latest one and the oldest one mixed up. So I got two of those wrong. After that, I received an email that my account was on hold. So I figured no big deal. I called the 800 number. I figured I'd have to give my mother's maiden name, social security number, and then they would unlock it. No, they wanted me to send them the front and back of my driver's license. So I figured, okay, that's a little bit of a pain, but I can do that, no problem. So I emailed the front and back of my driver's license, and then I followed up with an email, and I think it said, I got an email that said, that wasn't sufficient or something. So I called the 800 number again and spoke with somebody, spoke with a friendly rep. I talked to the friendly rep on the phone. I heard her talk to somebody in the background, and then I noticed that her tone became more of a disappointed tone. And that's when I knew something was up, that I was part of the joke, that I was going to be scammed. And it's sort of like a sixth sense. I knew something was up. The scam was on at that point.
We got one!
So I emailed the photos again, and they would send a form, and each time it would change slightly. And there was an upload link to upload more images, but it was never sufficient. So I would send something, they would send something back saying that's not sufficient. send another photo of your driver's license on a different colored background. And then I also sent my utility bill, which is supposed to wipe it out completely, where you could send your driver's license or a recent utility bill. Well, I sent the utility bill and that part got wiped out. They stopped asking about that, but they still kept asking for the driver's license. Then I emailed them and I said, what is the specific issue with the driver's license? What specifically can't you see with the driver's license? They responded and they completely dodged the question, and they just sent a form saying that it's not sufficient, and then basically the same canned form. This is the part of the scam that's important. They can't have the customer service people responding back via email or phone saying that the images are blurry, because when the regulators come and they look at thousands and thousands of cases and they see that all of those images are not blurry, then Chime is going to be caught in the lie. So what they do is they won't respond specifically to inquiries like that. They'll just send a canned form saying that it's insufficient. This allows the scam to continue longer. Otherwise, it probably ended. They would get caught in a lie and they'd probably get in more trouble. The Chime verification scam has changed slightly over the years. Chime basically asked me to do the same things over and over with the verification photo uploads. It's basically like putting you in a hamster wheel. Now, that's what I think of. It's a verification hamster wheel scam where you're basically caught in a loop that you can't get out of. A few years ago, the Chime verification scam was more like getting people to do pet tricks to see just how desperate they were to get their money. A few years ago, this woman from Atlanta was asked to take a photo of herself holding her ID. They refused her verification and put her through the same hamster wheel verification that I went through. But for her, it was much worse. She had $14,000 they held for over 10 months.
They told me that I needed to provide a photo of me holding my government-issued ID.
She says she sent this picture. No access to their money, even after providing requested information.
You get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
I found a way to make you richer and reduce your risk of bank fraud at the same time, and it will blow your mind. The story starts with an unrelated topic, but it's an important lesson. The story starts with bank robbery. Why bank robbing has gone out of style. So you're probably thinking, what does this have to do with the online savings or bank accounts? Well, I'll explain. If we look at this chart here, these are bank robberies committed. U.S. bank robberies are at their lowest level in more than 50 years, down significantly from the peak in 1991. In 1991, it was almost 10,000 robberies per year. Now it's down to around 1,700. What's the reason behind this? Why are there so few robberies? Because there's more people than ever. It has to do with debit cards, the rise of debit cards and credit cards. Cash is now less popular than ever because of people using debit cards and credit cards. Banks aren't holding as much money. Banks simply have less cash available, so that when a criminal robs a bank, the robberies are for less money than the past. After adjusting for inflation, the typical robber made away with just $5,200 in the late 1960s. That's over $38,000 in 2019 dollars. But in 2019, the average was just $4,200. It's less of an attractive opportunity than it was in the past. What does this have to do with online savings and bank accounts? Unfortunately, sociopaths and psychopaths live among us. They're willing to do horrible things to other people if the opportunity is worthwhile enough, and if they can get away with it. However, if these two things aren't there, it is likely that they won't strike. The government oversight for bank accounts isn't there, so they can likely get away with it. However, if the opportunity isn't as attractive, then they likely will look elsewhere. Here's a perfect example. Marcus by Goldman Sachs with my referral code is currently paying one of the highest interest rates, 5.15% for 3 months. Even after the 3 months, it's still at 4.15, and you can keep referring others and it'll go up. If, for example, the top executives at were fired and got jobs at Marcus or Wealthfront cash account, they likely wouldn't be able to do all these account lockdowns that they do with like account freezing. Because why? Because the customers are getting paid 5.15%. And if the markup is just not there, this is not an attractive opportunity for a thief, a criminal. And if we look at my Wealthfront cash account, with my referral, you also get a 0.5% boost for 3 months. So you get 5.05%. I don't get anything from either one of these really. They give me a boost, but I have so many of these that if I get somebody that signs up, it gives me like a boost for, 1 day or something. So it really doesn't matter to me at this point. I mean, but it's better to sign up with these two than to sign up with the. So for example, if you get the executives at Wealthfront cash account and the account gets locked down, even if the account's locked down, I believe they're still paying 5.05%. And the executives were trying to buy treasuries and they're getting a slightly higher rate. There's just not much of a spread there. However, Vero, Chime, and Current all have very, very low interest rates. Now, Current has a 0.25% interest rate. If you have direct deposit, I believe it goes up to 4%. However, you have to have the direct deposit. So if they lock down your account, those direct deposits would stop going through and the rate would go back down to 0.25%. So basically, in the event of a lockdown, all three of these are basically paying 0.0. And now with the high interest rates, they could lock down these accounts for, let's say, 10 months. Even if it's only 2 or 3% of those accounts, if they could lock some down for 6 months, 3 months, and they're getting, 5.2 or something like that on the money, or they're making loans and they're getting a higher rate. Companies like Chime, they're paying nothing on the money. So they're locking it down. They're getting your money at 0 and they're getting the Fed funds rate. As you're locked out of your account and the money's in there, they're making money on it. So they have an incentive to lock people out because they're making a lot of money. If you have an account with them and you're able to move the money around, a lot of people are going to be moving it to the savings portion and the company's going to make less money. What I also found interesting about this is I did a video maybe a month ago or a few weeks ago on the Better Business Bureau rating and the savings and bank accounts. One thing that I noticed, guess who the top 3 are that have the most amount of Better Business Bureau complaints? Chime, Vero, and Current. I mean, Bread Financial is an exception, but Current, all of these have the highest percentage of complaints. Guess what they all have in common? They're all fintechs and they all have super low interest rates. They all have super low interest rates on the bank account. So there's a huge opportunity for an unscrupulous executive or the company to want to lock down accounts. So the solution to that is to go to sign up with my Wealthfront cash account or Marcus, and you're going to have a much better experience and less bank fraud risk. So in summary, how can we reduce the risk of the account being frozen or bank shenanigans? Select only high APY rates. Accounts should have checking and savings combined into one account, not 2 separate accounts. Having the one account will also make sure that you're getting the highest rate. If you have 2 separate accounts, with the checking being the lower rate one and the savings being the higher rate one, usually a lot of the deposits go to the checking account, which is the lower rate. Should have a high rate without a direct deposit rate boost. That way they're not able to kick you out of the high rate if they get rid of the direct deposit or if you cancel it when your account's locked. Thanks for watching. Please make sure to press that like button, share, subscribe, and comment. I have a couple of refer a friend bank offers that you may want to consider. They do offer some sign-up bonuses, which is nice. So I have both Vero and Chime. Now Vero pays $35. It only pays $35, but it's very easy to sign up with. All you have to do is open the account with my referral link, put in maybe $20 to $30. After you get the debit card in the mail, spend the $20 within 30 days. Automatically, within the next day, they deposited $35 into my account. I was able to take out that money immediately, I think, or the next day. So very easy, very low risk. Now, what could you buy with the $35? You could go to Texas Roadhouse and buy the largest steak that they have, the Porterhouse T-bone steak. It's a 23-ounce Texas size steak, $34.49. There you go. Or perhaps you prefer the bone-in ribeye. The bone-in ribeye, $29.99. 20-ounce steak. Or you could buy anything else you want. You're not limited to Texas Roadhouse. This is just an example. I also have a referral where you get $100 when you sign up with Chime. Earn $100 when you receive a payroll direct deposit of $200 or more within the first 45 days of opening the account. The second thing you have to do is within 14 days you have to activate the debit card after receiving the direct deposit. And then the $100 should be awarded within typically 2 days. So don't let me scare you away. If you come to this video and you already decided that you want to sign up with Chime, I would rather you sign up with my referral link than someone else's. Chime can't lock all the accounts down, so more than likely you'll have better luck than I did with Chime. So I would say just watch the passwords, be careful. I'm not suggesting that anybody put all of their money in Chime, but if you're looking just to sign up with the bonus, why not go through my link and we'll both get $100 hopefully within 2 days after the qualifying direct deposit. If you sign up with either one of these referrals, please comment in the description so I can watch out for them.